NamRA Kachenu, 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 NamRA Kachenu. NamRA.
Hello and welcome to this edition of NamRA Kachenu, where we highlight tax, customs, and excise matters. I'm your host, Shipena Njambi Kuhanga, and I'm very much honored to be in your company for the next half an hour or so. In recent developments, the one-stop border post at Trans-Kalahari and Mamuno takes shape. The deadline is approaching for individual tax returns for salaried persons and pensioners. Last but not the least, exploring scenarios following tax returns submissions. All that and more will be coming to you in a while. Stay tuned. We start our show at the east, where the one-stop border post, the Trans-Kalahari and Mamuno project is nearing completion. Now this follows a site visit by the project team on the 13th of June 2024. Representatives from both Namibia and Botswana were satisfied with the progress made within the last few weeks in order to deliver the project by the end of July 2024.
We are connecting these borders, we are also connecting nations. In the end, we will not be able to know who is Namibian, who is the Botswana, if we do this very well. So, all the best for what remains of this day, and I wish you well.
This was supposed to be the first one-stop border post, but nonetheless, we are seeing the its completion, and I'm quite also delighted also the fact that we the agreement was signed on the 9th of September 2022, and during the binational, and with the proposal from Namibia that also it will be launched during the binational. It actually has a cherry on top.
It is important to tell our people through etiquette and decorum, because these are the two nations with different cultures. Let alone nationally, we have different cultures. Now, imagine the two countries relating with all the various tribes. Therefore, it is important to have a common base.
As the due date approaches, taxpayers are reminded to submit their returns by the 30th of June 2024.
Dear taxpayer, kindly take note of the following important matters before submitting your 2024 income tax return that is due on Monday, 1st July 2024. You are encouraged to register as an e-filer on the ITAS system. Have your Pay5 or tax certificate as issued by your employer ready. Other important documents are your contribution certificates to retirement annuity or study policy, if any. Please ensure that your employer has submitted the 2024 reconciliation on ITAS before submitting your 2024 income tax return. Thank you.
When submitting your tax returns, several outcomes are possible. Now, here are the potential results you can expect as a taxpayer.
Good day, viewers. My name is Clarissa Canases. I'm a senior auditor within the Domestic Taxes Department. Today, we're going to discuss the various outcomes if you submit your tax return. The first one is you can own NamRA. When you own NamRA, that basically means the tax that you're supposed to pay for a specific tax year is not the tax that is deducted by your employer. So the employer is deducted less than what he was supposed to, and in the end, it results in you owing NamRA. And it remains the obligation of the taxpayer to pay an amount that is due to NamRA. The second scenario can be where the tax that was deducted is deducted more than what you were supposed to for that specific tax year, which means NamRA will owe you. If NamRA owes you, a process of auditing will start, and when the audit is concluded, the refund will be paid out to you. The third scenario is where the amount that was deducted for tax for that specific tax year is accurate, and NamRA does not owe you, and you do not owe NamRA. So we are basically reminding taxpayers, if your employee recon has not been submitted, please do not submit your tax return, because that will result in you owing the whole tax payable. If you were supposed to pay tax for 90,000 for that specific tax year, you will owe that whole 90,000. So we urge taxpayers, please do not submit your return if your employee recon has not submitted by your employer. That's all for today. Thank you. Until next time.
After the break, we'll be joined by Ms. Geneni Mbavanga, Audit Manager at Large Taxpayers Unit within NamRA's Domestic Taxes Department. Be sure to stick around.
NamRA Kachenu, NamRA Kachenu.
Welcome back. We are now joined by Ms. Geneni Mbavanga, an Audit Manager at Large Taxpayers Unit. Ma'am, it's indeed an honor to have you join us today, and welcome to NamRA Kachenu.
Thank you, Shipe. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you. Ma'am, could you briefly describe your professional background and outline your main responsibilities as a manager under Large Taxpayers Unit?
Thank you for the question. I'm an accountant by profession. I started out as an accountant for a private firm. I then joined the Ministry of Finance as a taxation officer under the Inland Revenue Department, where I worked for a number of years before leaving for another state-owned entity as a finance officer. At the time, there were talks of the government establishing a separate tax body. I then saw it an opportune time to come back home, where I got a position of a Chief Taxation Officer at the Large Taxpayers Unit. In my current role, I'm responsible for audits. I oversee the entire unit, where I am responsible for coming up with the audit program, executing it, and ensuring that our auditors have a performance management in place. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, having been in office for almost 2 years, right? What have you implemented so far to ensure that audits are done efficiently, especially when it comes to revenue collection?
Thank you. When we started out, there was no uniformed way of carrying out our audits. So I established SOPs to ensure that we are all aligned in how we carry out our audits. And we had the entire unit doing the same, all types of audits. But then I split the teams in two to have a dedicated team just doing comprehensive audits and the other team dedicated to verification. These are your audits flagged by the system as well as issue audits.
Thank you so much. Now, what are the main challenges that your audit team is experiencing, and what are you currently doing to address them and mitigate these challenges as well?
We have challenges in terms of our taxpayers take long to provide documents for audits, and we have been engaging them, informing them that if they fasten the process, we will equally also refund their refunds on time. We also have a challenge where our taxpayers have volumes of transactions. So we are in the process of acquiring an audit tool to ensure that we carry out our audits efficiently.
Now, when we are requesting for these extra documents from our taxpayers, are they bringing them on time to just expedite the whole audit process?
The majority of our taxpayers do respond on time, but you find those who take long, and we have to keep on following up, and that prolongs the process. But we are engaging them, and we see there's an improvement in that.
Oh, okay. Now, most clients have expressed their dissatisfaction when it comes to the turnaround time of refund payments. What are we currently doing, especially in your office now, to ensure that these refunds are paid out on time?
With our unit, we have drastically reduced our turnaround time for our refunds from over 100 to 80 days as of the last financial year. And we are working towards reducing it to a number of 60 days, because we are really cognizant that money circulation in the economy is very important. And because we have now a team just working on refunds, the process is really looking very good.
Oh, that's amazing indeed. Now, what has been your best NamRA moment thus far?
Wow. Daily, we really do appreciate our taxpayers. We are aware that they're really trying, but Taxpayer Appreciation Day, for me, that was my wow moment. Because this year, on the 10th of April, I was also privileged to sit there and really just appreciate them equally with my team.
Amazing indeed. As we wrap up this discussion, do you have any final message you'd like to share with our taxpayers?
I would like to appeal to all our taxpayers. This being filing season, please do comply and submit your tax returns on or before 30th of June.
Thank you so much for your time. It's highly appreciated.
Thank you, Shipe.
Now that wraps our discussion with Ms. Geneni Mbavanga, an audit manager at Large Taxpayers Unit. We'll be back after a short break. Stay tuned.
NamRA Kachenu, NamRA Kachenu.
Now let's focus on state warehouse rent procedures.
Good day. My name is Eunice Tongo from NamRA Customs and Excise stationed at State Warehouse, which is within Central Region. I'll discuss on the state warehouse rent. First, we need to know what is the meaning of state warehouse rent. The state warehouse rent is the revenue collected from the detained goods that are deposited into the state warehouse. Upon the collection of the goods from the state warehouse, the owner or importer of the goods will declare the goods at the point where they were detained. For example, goods were detained at Trans-Kalahari. The importer will declare the goods at the state Trans-Kalahari and pay up all applicable duties and taxes, including the penalty depending on the nature of offense that was contravened. Then he will provide the declaration to State Warehouse together with a proof of payment. On top of that, he will also provide the application for delivery of goods ex-State Warehouse. In addition, the importer will also provide the application for delivery of goods ex-State Warehouse, NA 68. Then the warehouse officers will take the SAD 500, which is a declaration, together with the supporting document and the NA 68, and verify together with the detention and the chain of custody that was provided to the warehouse at the time of chaining the goods into the state warehouse. Furthermore, they will also verify together the goods that were detained, the physical stock that was detained into the warehouse, to see whether it is the correct goods and the quantities correspond with what is on the chain of custody and detention notice. From there, the calculation of the warehouse rent. The procedure to calculate the state warehouse rent. State warehouse rent is calculated based on the weight of the goods that have been stored in the warehouse, the number of weeks when the goods were in the warehouse, and the rent. For example, in this case, goods were not declared. The rate will be $12. Now, the goods have been, for example, the weight of the goods is 50 kgs, and the goods have been stored in the warehouse for 20 weeks and the rate of rent is $12. Now the calculation comes as follows. 50 kgs divided by 100, we get 0.5. Then we come to the 20 weeks multiplied by 12, which is the rate of rent, equals to 240. Now the 0.5 multiplied by 240 equals to 120. Now the state warehouse rent payable is 120. The straightforward formula will be 50 divided by 100 multiplied by 20 multiplied by 12 equals to 120. The state warehouse rent payable is 120. Another example which I want to give is when goods weigh 5 kgs and it had been kept in the warehouse for 1 week and the rate of duty is, the rate of rent is $12. It will be 5 kgs divided by 100 multiplied by 1 week multiplied by $12 equals to 0.60, which means the warehouse rent payable is 6 cents. So after the payment of the warehouse rent, in addition to what was paid at Trans-Kalahari, then the goods now, and after verifying that those are the exact goods, the goods will now be handed over to the owner, and state warehouse rent cannot be paid at point of entry or where the goods were detained. Warehouse rent can only be charged at state warehouse where the goods are stored. In other words, state warehouse is the storage fee within the state warehouse. I think in short, that is how state warehouse rent works. Thank you.
In the next insert, we'll look at exercisable commodities, its procedures and requirements.
Good day. My name is Mary Kahundu Monehambo from Customs and Excise Department, Northeastern Region, Rundu Regional Office. Today I'm going to speak about excisable commodities, their requirements and procedures. Excisable commodities are goods that attract excise duties and ad valorem excise duties under Schedule 1, Part 2A and Schedule 1, Part 2B of the Customs and Excise Act 20 of 1998. There are two classes of rates here, which are specific excise duties levied per weight or per liter, while ad valorem excise duties is levied on the value as a percent. There are two classes of excisable commodities, which are locally manufactured goods of the same class or kind and imported goods of the same class or kind. There are a number of excisable commodities which are alcohol or alcoholic products, tobacco products, oil and gas products, motor vehicle imports, plastic products, perfumery products. The requirements for manufacturing or importation of excisable commodities. These commodities are traded under Section 123 of the Customs and Excise Act 20 of 1998 as amended, which implies that they are restricted or prohibited goods. They can only be traded under strict certification and licensing. Manufacturing warehouses requiring to manufacture excisable commodities may register with customs and excise. They may register their bonds with accredited financial institutions. Their facilities should be inspected and approved by the Commissioner of NamRA. Their goods should be treated and traded under import and export permits issued by the Ministry of Trade and Industrialization. Their limits that are provided on the import and export limits should be observed all times. Phytosanitary certificates should be issued for goods that are especially consumed by humans, issued by accredited institutions in the countries of exportation or the country of importation or manufacturing. The certificate of analysis should be produced at importation for bulk oil and gas importers. These products may be imported under the following procedures. Under rebate 407 for personal use, rebate 407/02 for personal use applicable to all travelers on all modes of transport throughout the logistics fraternity. And SAD 500 may be produced for bulk imports or exports, and the self-assessments should be done for manufacturing warehouses after certification of manufacturing. They should do self-assessment and tender their declarations. Thank you.
Here is the trivia of duties.
Did you know? Excise duties are taxes imposed on certain locally produced goods and their imported counterparts, such as cigarettes, alcohol, and fuel. These duties are also applied to most excisable products imported from other SACU countries. Here is the total collection between April 2021 and 31st of March 2024.
NamRA, serving with passion.
Do you want to make a payment for tax debt? Well, here are the available options for payment.
My name is Angela Kamui, Senior Revenue Treasury Officer at NamRA. I'm going to take you through the process of making payments to our NamRA offices. We have 4 modes of payments which are acceptable at our offices, which are direct deposits, cash payments, electronic fund transfers, and speed points machines. When making electronic fund transfers, we have 2 accounts available for our taxpayers, which is Receiver of Revenue, account 165001, and the VAT dedicated account 165060. When making a direct deposit, our taxpayers need to fill this deposit slip at their commercial bank. You need to have your TIN with you. The TIN consists of 8 characters, and then you should also know the period that you are making the payment for. When making an electronic fund transfer, for your penalty or interest liability due to NamRA, you use the EFT referencing example as shown on the screen. It also has 19 characters, but on the text type and text period, you put 999, indicating that the payment is account payment. When making electronic fund transfers, EFT referencing example is shown on the screen, which comprises of 19 characters. The taxpayer reference number comprises of 5 parameters, which are as follows. 1. Represent the payment method, in this case, EFT payment. 06. Office of registration or your return office. The 8th character represents your tax identification number. 14 is tax type, in this case, employees tax. 2018-06 is the tax period for which the payment is meant for.
In the previous episode, we asked, when is the due date for submitting returns for individual salaried persons and pensioners? The answer is the 30th of June 2024. Kindly note that the 30th of June falls on a Sunday. Thus, the due date is the Monday, the 1st of July 2024. Here's a question for this episode. What are the procedures for excisable commodities? Kindly email your answer to NamRA Kachenu at namra.org.na. Kindly note that the due date for submission is the 4th of July 2024. The winner will be announced in the next episode.
And with that, we conclude this edition of NamRA Kachenu. We trust that the information shared has been both valuable and insightful. Join us again in 2 weeks' time for the latest update. But until then, stay informed, stay compliant, and kindly submit your tax returns by the 30th of June 2024. Goodbye.